Thanks for joining today. It's great to see all of you here. And we are going to, myself and Jeevarajan Kumar is here. And we are going to talk about the Microsoft Power Platform, security and governance, how the security, with the security and governance, how the organization can empower efficiency in maintaining and developing all the applications within the Power Platform stack. Before deep dive into today's topic, I want to say a big thank you to everyone and who helped to put this event together. And also big thanks to all of you guys for joining today. And you being here makes this discussion even better because we can share the different ideas and learn from each other. And also big shout out to all the sponsors, Osito 365, Cloudotech, Microsoft, Pantera Technologies, Rapid Circle, Renclore, and CloudThat. So thanks a lot once again for providing this wonderful opportunity. So for all the organizers to present in the India Cloud Security Summit 2023. And during our talk, like please feel free to join and share your thoughts and also ask if you have any questions, and we are happy to clarify with all your queries. Okay, thanks once again for joining. So let me get into the today's topic. Before getting into it, I will pass it to Jiva for his quick introduction. Over to you, Jiva.
Yeah, thanks everyone again joining today for this big event. We have been regularly presenting in the event for last, I think, 3 years, and we always proud to share our experience in terms of our platform and business application from the security standpoint. And thanks again for joining today. And we hope we will be able to give you some useful information. And without further ado, myself, Jiva Rajan Kumar, you can call me Jiva. So I'm based out of Auckland. I'm working for a partner called Fusion 5. So it's a Dynamics 365 and Power Platform and Microsoft specialist partner. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP for last 4 years. And I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. And I will share my, in the website, you can find my profile of my LinkedIn profile. And yeah, so Dani, you wanna just quickly introduce yourself?
Sure, Jiva. Thanks. Thanks for your introduction. Yeah, myself, Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam. People call me Dharani, and I work as a senior manager with Capgemini Australia. And I do have like 10 plus years of experience into Dynamics 365 and 4 plus years of experience into Power Platform technologies. And I do actively contribute to the Microsoft Dynamics and the Power Platform community. And I have been recognized as a Microsoft MVP for last 3 consecutive years. And also I have been recognized as a Microsoft Learn expert. So where I mostly like I'll be writing a technical blogs and I'll be sharing a content mainly on the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform area. Like if you guys need any help in the Dynamics 365 or Power Platform area, please feel free to join us in the LinkedIn. I will post my the LinkedIn link in the chat window. Please feel free to connect with us and yeah, get your clarifications, or if you need any help, then please feel free to reach out. Yeah, thank you once again for joining. So with the interest of time, I will pass it to Jiva. Yeah, over to you, Jiva. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, I think I resolved this one. Let me quickly share my screen. Anyway.
Yeah, still we are not able to see your screen.
Yeah, just a moment. What happened was my team started, having issues with the when I changed the organization. I'm just struggling with that. That's why. Anyways, I just quickly share whatever I have, and I think that should be fine. Let me know once you guys are able to see it.
Yeah, all good, Jiva. Yeah, we can see.
So I
We're
just
not. Yeah, we are seeing the presenter.
Share the wrong screen. Let me know if you're able to see this one now.
Yeah, all good. We are able to see your desktop.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'll just quickly get into the first slide. Yep. and I also turn on my video. Can you see me as well?
Yes, we can see you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for the technical glitch there. So the agenda is going to be a quick introduction on the Power Platform. Most of you already knowing what is Power Platform. This is just for a quick introduction about what it is for someone if they are new. And then we'll see the security principles or security basics in Power Platform. It's a vast topic itself. If we talk about security, at least we require 2 to 3 full day session. But I try to keep it simple and straightforward so that we can have some Q&A session at the end of the this session. And after that, I'll hand over to Dharani for governance to talk about the introduction of governance. Again, governance is together could be a long one where we can have a week session. But yeah, we have to compress them all of them in next 30 minutes. So I'll just, if I'm too fast and if you have any issues in following me, please let me know. And I'm also keeping an eye on the chat here, and then if there's anything, please let me know as well in the chat. We can address it later. And when it comes to Power Platform is a Microsoft low-code platform that basically covers across it. It basically cuts across the Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365, SharePoint as such, which includes which is part of Microsoft 365. So the main applications of the Power Platform or main pillars of the Power Platform would be Power Apps, which has two kind of apps called Canvas apps and model-driven apps. And you also got, which is basically a rapid application development. So you can have that a pixel-free application using Canvas application, which basically you start with the screen and then you use your data. And if that kind of approach you are going to follow, Canvas application would be ideal. And if you want to use model-driven application, it works only with Dataverse. So you need the Dataverse access, which is the backend of the Power Platform. Not just, it's not the only background, but it's the main ideal database. It's more than database, but it's the ideal place where the data gets stored. And if you have going to use Dataverse, then it requires its own licensing, premium licenses. And if you're just using Canvas app, you can still use it with the M365 license and with Power Automate license or separate Power Apps license as such. And with that, if I talk about Power Automate, it's going to be a process automation tool. So it's used for all the automation like notifications and integrations as such. And then you got Power Pages, which is the website interface. It's a low-code application to build a website with its own CMS and security, which aligns with the data, Azure security or also third-party security. And this is actually quite old. Until like 2 weeks before it was there, part of the platform. But now, like a Power Virtual Agent is going to be pretty much replaced with the Copilot. So we can see more information coming about that soon. So we already got lots of new goodies being released in the last Ignite on Copilot, and there are lots of things that's already been in hot in the industry. And we will be talking more about that in probably the sessions that Dharani and I might present. But right now we'll just skip that. And then we also have Power BI, which is business analytics tool, and itself it's it's a massive component on its own, which you can build a powerful analytics and insights tool with your data. And all of these tools basically uses Dataverse as the backend. And you've got AI Builder, which is pretty much replaced with gonna be like AI Builder is still there, but it will be eventually. We are now in the phase of transitioning into Copilot Studio and Copilot, so it's probably might be replaced with Copilot as well. But at the moment, we still have AI Builder. But with Virtual Agents, definitely it's been replaced with Copilot Studio. AI Builder is still there. We use it for all the forms and images, classification, all those kind of stuffs. And then you also have data connectors, which you can use it directly with the apps, or you can basically use it with Power Automate and other applications here in this one. So there are already like, I believe, thousands plus connectors now. And if you want to build any custom connector to any of your system, you can also build the custom connector and use it with any of the applications. That's the very brief introduction about what is Power Platform, but it's massive, right? The whole Dynamics 365 CRM and FNO or ERP applications as it leverages this. Is essentially the whole Power Platform or Dataverse especially is nothing but it is a stripped out version of backend of CRM, and then it has been enhanced a lot, and then lots of nice components have been added to that, and also made it a more powerful and more accessible as a brand, as a Power Platform. So right now we are all using Power Platform pretty much, whether you're from Dynamics or you're from Microsoft 365 or SharePoint on these kind of scenarios. Right, so the next one is going to be, the actual content, which is security. So I have few things to discuss around that. So I can start with, like, overall, where does the security in Power Platform starts? So security in Power Platform pretty much is handled by, say, several layers. So at the Dataverse level, and the layer at, like Azure AD level, and also in the connector level. So these are different levels you can have security. And the security is absolutely crucial when it comes to any business applications where you deal with data, with your customers' data, with your financial data. And Power Platform offers an extensive security model where you can start with very high level from AD level, Azure AD group level, and all the way to a particular field in a table level as well. So that's why we are going to take a look at how we're going to talk about the security. And the best practice in general when it comes to Microsoft Power Platform in terms of security is you basically only grant access to the data that you only needed. You don't want to give that additional access to the data, and then you'll end up, it's definitely going to cause lots of issues. So the main thumb rule is to give access to only certain data that's pretty much needs to be accessed by the users. And how it starts is actually you can see, so you can, it's basically a bottom-up approach where you can basically have environment level security configuration as well, where you basically, so talking about environment, so environment is basically segregation of your whole system in terms of Power Apps or Power Platform. So you can have your development environment, your production environment, your UAT environment. So basically you can have the control of, you can basically control users to access environment level. So one can have access to production and one can have just access to dev and something like that. So if it's end user, you will not be giving access to dev, of course. So you'll be giving access to production and UAT. So that's the very high level security segregation. And then you have further segregation at, this is pretty much from Dataverse perspective, right? And before that, we also have Azure security group perspective. So you can basically control the security at Azure security group level. So once you have a user in security and in Azure AD, and then you basically get that user added to the environment, that will basically control the environment security. And then you have from then it goes to next level, which is Dataverse security. So within one environment, we're talking about which tables or which records between tables needs to be accessed by whom, that kind of granularity. So you basically have business unit security roles, users and teams, and record ownership. So the first level is going to be within one environment, within one organization, we're going to have multiple business units. So you can have, let's say, Fusion 5, if I take my company as an example, you will have Fusion 5 Auckland, can have Fusion 5 Wellington, you can have Fusion 5 Sydney as such, and then you can have different users and customers data within that business units, and we can control the access of that business unit. If say I'm from Auckland, I should only be able to access all the clients' records from Auckland. So that's how and let's say Dharani from Sydney, and if he wants to access only the client records from Sydney, then that's the security layer at the business unit level. And how that is done is basically something called security roles. So I'm going to share some screens about that as well, if time permits. Security role is going to have basically a table. It's control against the table. You'll see it shortly. It's easier to explain it that way. And then users and teams is basically who's going to access to the record. So if I want to access all the records in Fusion 5 Auckland, all the clients records that's part of the Fusion for Auckland. So either I should be assigned as a owner to all of them, or I will be assigned to a team, and that teams I will be part of a team, and that team will be the owner of those records. So and then I own those records basically. That's where the team comes into the picture, and then that's pretty much about record ownership as well. So being a record owner is one way of having full control on the record, but it's not necessary that you can access the record if you're only the owner. You can access even if you're not the owner, if you still have access to that particular table and the record. And then additional more granular, we're getting into more granular level. We also have different way of accessing security called hierarchy security. So which is apart from directly making a person or team owner, you can also have a different hierarchy. We have two hierarchy, a position hierarchy and other one is just like manager level hierarchy. So if Dharani is my manager, let's say whatever record that I own, even though he is not an owner of that record or he's not part of the team that owns the record, if this manager level hierarchy is enabled, he still can see my record that I own because he's my manager. So that is another level of control that can be given. And then you got field level security. Let's say if I want to access, if I am accessing customer record, let's say I am the sales guy, and I can see all the customers from Fusion for Auckland, but I'm not allowed to see the credit card number of my customers. Only finance team is allowed to see. So I can basically mask, apply a field level security, which is now called column level security, the field, and then only those person, and then we will give security role access to the field level, and only the finance team can see the field credit card number. Not everyone can see. So that level of granularity you can go into a Power Platform. So you can all the way control from completely accessing the whole environment. Then you can dive into tables, and then you can dive into business units, and then tables, and then up to the field level. That's what it is. And the teams, there are pretty much two different teams. When I was talking about previously about making a team as an owner, so you can have a owner team and also access team. Owner team is pretty much who owns the record, and access team is pretty much used for the record sharing. So that's what is here. When it talks about record sharing, it touches the access team in some cases. So record sharing is if I'm working on some of the customer's record, and I'm going on, let's say, leave next week, and I want to basically have Dharani to take work on that customer for next week when I'm off. So instead of making Dharani, what I do is instead of making him, adding him to the whole team and all those thing that's need to be done, I can just simply share that to Dharani, and he will be basically able to access the record and take control of the record, and then he can share it back once I'm back, something like that. And this is like pretty much a 360 view of what the Dynamics or Power Platform. In this case, it's mentioned as Dynamics 365 CE, but ideally it's for whole Power Platform, right? That's not meant for just Dynamics for CE, so kindly ignore that. And you're gonna see pretty much I mentioned somewhere Dynamics 365 because I've been used to that, but ideally you can just understand as a Power Platform or Dataverse wherever I mentioned as Dynamics 365 CE. Sorry about that, but the concept is same. Nothing changes. Any questions so far, Dharani, in the chat?
No, Jiva, all good.
Sweet.
Don't have any questions.
Perfect. So this is what I was just talking about as in the first slide. So different security fundamentals in terms of Dataverse. Again, just consider Dynamics 365 as Dataverse for now. So we're talking about environment level access using, say, Azure AD Security Group. So once an environment is associated with the group, only members of that group can access the system. And if environment is not associated with the group, all users with appropriate license should be able to access it. So that's how you control the environment-wise in Dataverse, in Power Platform. And then you also have a Microsoft 365 rules and admin accounts. Like you can have a global administrator. So user with this role will have the highest level of control in M365. Pretty much most of you might be aware of that. And automatically they are granted access to all the environment. And after that, you also have Power Platform or Dynamics admin. So users with this level will have access to all the Power Platform environments, and pretty much they can manage the Power Apps, Power Automate, and data loss prevention policies. And as such, we'll see what is data loss prevention policy shortly. But that's the first level. If I go back to the slide again, this is kind of a single view that shows all the things that we're going to discuss shortly. So what we are talking about is this one right now. Yeah, and the next one you have is business unit and key data points, which is basically talking about this block. So business units, each user must be a part of business unit. So as I said previously, I can be a Fusion 5 Auckland, and Dharani can be, let's say, I can't use Fusion 5, let's say XYZ company. Auckland, Dharani can be XYZ company, Sydney, so and then he can manage his own records, something like that. And a root business unit is default created whenever there is a Power Platform environment has been provisioned, and there will be only one root business unit. Ideally, it cannot be deleted, it cannot be disabled, it cannot be replaced, reparented. And what you can do is you can basically change the default business unit, and you can have child business units under it. So if I have a company ABC, I can have Auckland ABC, Wellington ABC, Sydney ABC, Delhi ABC, something like that. And that's where you control all the customers' records under that. And the key points when you use business unit is business unit are not supposed to be built around your own organizational chart. It could be based on just not on the location. It could be based on the business operations as well, right? Ideally, it might be based on business operations sometimes. And then most of our customers at the moment we have seen like using one business unit, but depends on the complexity. It could be more than that. So I'm just here and there touching the best practices when it comes to security as components of Power Platform. So yeah, next one is security roles. So again, there's a second block that I was showing in the diagram previously. So that basically controls how users can access records. So I will just show the screen how it is there. But you can basically assign the security role to a user level, an individual user like me and Dharani level, or it can be a team level, like a sales team, finance team, marketing team, something like that. And at least one user should have, users should have at least one security role, and that based on that security role access, they will be able to see the records. And when they have multiple security roles, how it works is when you cumulatively add them, it takes works based on cumulative approach. For example, let's say I have sales security role that have access to company's records, and I also have a marketing security role which has access to, let's say, leads. So when I have both the security role, I will be able to access both company and leads, something like that. And it can be more created and modified, and it can add privileges and it can remove privileges. So if a user is assigned more than one security role, this is what it takes, at least the least restrictive. So in the sense, when you basically have what I just told right now, like it basically based on whichever you have, basically just takes it. And then the roles cannot be moved between business units, but the user can be assigned to teams from different business unit. That's in that way of controlling it. And with that, I just get into the next slide. I'm running out of time. So this is how it's look like in terms of security role, assigning security role. There is a recent new UI as well in Power Platform, but this is an old UI, but pretty much.
Jiva, we lost your voice, Jiva. Sorry.
Okay.
Now I can hear you.
When did I go to mute? I have no idea.
Now only just a few seconds.
That's weird. Someone muted, I guess. It's not me. Anyways, yeah. So security role example I was just talking about is if I take salesperson as an example, so you can see that the different entities or tables as part of the core records. Like let's say I take an account which represents organization in Power Platform. If in this scenario, it can see that the create privilege of the salesperson is given at just user level, and then read privilege given at organization level, like that. So what does that mean? Is if I have this security role salesperson, and when it says create privilege at user level, or read privilege organizational level, I can read any accounts in the system, in the environment, irrespective of who owns that account. So if let's say read privilege is given only at user level, I will be able to only see the account records that I am owner of. If it is given at business unit level, I will be able to see accounts that is being owned by anyone in the same business unit I'm part of. So if I am part of company ABC Auckland business unit, anyone who is also part of same business unit, if they are owner of some accounts, they own any other clients, customers. Account is basically representing a customer record here as a company. So if they own certain company records, I should be able to see it. That's what it means from the business unit level. Parent child business unit is if let's say within let's say if I take South India as one of the business unit, and within South India, let's say we have Chennai and then Bangalore and Hyderabad as different business unit. So under child business unit. So if I am part of South India business unit, and if Dharani is part of Chennai business unit, I can see, and Chennai business unit is child of South India business unit. Whatever record that Dharani owns, I can see it as well. So that's what parent-child business unit privilege means. And organization, the full green means I pretty much can see any customer accounts of inside the system. So that's what each privilege means. I just took an example of read, but you can imagine the same for write, which means editing privilege, and deleting privilege, and sharing privilege. The previous day I was talking about sharing. So even to share, I need the security role to be assigned to me, and then assign privilege, and then append privilege, which is used for lookup. But I'm not going into details of it. I need to pass it to Dharani now. That is what I was just talking to you. Organization level, parent-child unit level, business unit, and then user level business unit. And then overall summary standpoint. So you're gonna see organization, which is pretty much access to anyone, and then business unit, that's pretty much access to certain business unit, and then user level ownership. I should be part of certain owner user to own the record to be a part of that. And then team level, which means if I'm part of any team, I can control it. And sharing means somebody share it to me, I can use it. And inheritance comes from like manager or anything like that. So which I covered in the first slide. With that, I just already covered, and this is what I covered in the previous slide. So teams. So we got a few teams. I want to just talk about teams and users before I share it to Dharani. Users, we have licensed user. I can be licensed user, and Dharani will be a licensed user, and there is something called application user. So this kind of users used for commonly used for integration, which is basically non-named users. So advantage of using that application user account is you don't need a license for that. So I can have a application user created in AD, and then it syncs in Power Platform, and that user can assign to security role, and then that user can be used for integrations, data migration, so that you don't need a license to do that. And teams, owner team I just covered, access team I just covered, and Azure AD, you can also have a teams created in Azure AD that also syncs in Power Platform, and you can assign security roles to that as well. So that's quite handy these days to control the user and teams at AD level. And then field level security just covered in detail, and then sharing as well. And pretty much I think I'll skip Power Pages security for now. If we have time, I'll come back to that. That's 3 slides for that because Dharani has to cover the governance. And I'll quickly pass it to Dharani. Dharani, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jiva. So it was a great, wonderful deep dive into the security concepts and inside the Power Platform. Thanks for it. Now, let me quickly do the screen share. Once you're able to see my screen, please let me know.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. Okay. Till now, like we have seen in detail, like all the security concepts inside the Power Platform. Now let's take some moment and see what all the governance will be able to apply in the Power Platform and make the organization more empowered. Like this part, from the term governance itself, we can understand that this Power Platform governance refers to the strategies, policies, and procedure implemented to manage and oversee the use of the Microsoft Power Platform stack within the organization. So in order to have the governance, what we need to do is like we need to setting up the guidelines, and we need to the guide the people like this is how they need to do the development and the deployment, and how they need to manage the components like Power Apps, Power Automate, the Power BI, the Copilot Studio. So each and every component there should be some governance people, and they should be defining the standards like how they need to maintain each and everything, and how they need to develop the things for the organization. And also like if they are extending anything in the data was like writing a plugins, and they need, so there should be a governance in place to do all the custom code validation like style cop, fx cop, and if they are writing in javascript, and how the coding standard should be there. So each and everything should be defined in such a way so that it will maintain the consistency, and also will ensure that we are following the best practices. So that's the main importance. Like in the second slide, I have added like why this governance is so important. So these are all the some of the key things like why the governance is so important for all the Power Platform projects. So the first thing is like the security and the compliance management. This governance helps you to ensure that the application and what all the components you are creating inside the Power Platform environments has met the security standards, and it is comply with the relevant laws and regulations such as GDPR, HIPAA, etc. This is especially important when you are dealing with the sensitive or the personal data. And with respect to the cost management, without the proper governance, there can be an uncontrolled proliferation of apps and flows, and it may lead to increased and unnecessary cost to the organization. So, if we have the strong governance in place, then it will help us in monitoring and controlling the resource usage, and we can avoid all this unwanted cost which is coming out of it. And next to the quality and the consistency. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, the governance policies can establish the standards for the quality of apps, flows, and the custom components, and which is ensuring they are reliable, perform well, and also to offer a consistent user experience. And with respect to the risk management, it helps in mitigating the risk associated with the misuse of the platform, such as data breaches. And the second thing is complaint violation. And if any operational disruptions are there, so all those things will be avoided by using the Power Platform governance. And the enhanced productivity and the innovation by providing and clear guidelines and support, the governance can actually empower the users to innovate safely and efficiently. And also it ensures that citizen developers can create a solutions without causing any problems. And on top of all these things, we should have the strong the data loss prevention DLP policies to control how the data is accessed and shared, ensuring the data integrity and preventing the accidental data leaks. And in any of the typically in any of the project, like we need the life cycle the management. It involves managing the life cycle of apps flows from development to retirement, ensuring they remain relevant, up to date, and decommissioned when no longer needed. So all those life cycle management needs to be properly maintained so that the Power Platform governance can be achieved in a proper way. And as part of a governance, we need to ensure that users are trained and they are adapting the platform effectively and maximizing the return on investment in the technology. So, like for example, we should have the user adoption training, and if any of the features are getting deprecated, as a it's a responsibility of the Power Platform, the governance people to circulate that information across the team to ensure that we are not using those components going forward in the code, so that uh, everyone will maintain the same thing. And these are some of the governance considerations we need to do it in our Power Platform project. Let's start with the backbone of the governance. One for the first and foremost is the policy framework. This is where we lay down the rules of the road. It's important to establish the clearly the policies that outline like how we need to create, manage, and utilize all the Power Platform resources. This sets the stage for everything what we do in the project, ensuring that everyone understands the what and how of our work within the Power Platform space. And next, we have to define who does what. The roles and responsibilities need to be clear cut for our admins, developers, and end users. This clarity is not just about keeping things orderly, it's about accountability and compliance. Everyone should know their part in the grand scheme of things, or else people will mess up things soon. And talking about the environments, we don't just dive in, we set a guidelines for creating and managing these spaces where our development, testing, and the production happen. It's like segregating the play areas from the work zones, like ensuring that each environment is secure and it is used for its intended purpose. For example, in the dev environment, the people should only maintain all the development components as unmanaged ones, especially in the Power Platform. Whereas if you take the SID and the pre-prod, it should be an all other up environment should be unmanaged environments. So we should not go and maintain the up environments as an unmanaged environment. That will create a lots of problem actually. So environment management is also one of the wise thing we need to do it in all our Power Platform projects. And security is not an afterthought; it's at the forefront of the government. So already the Jiva has clearly explained in detail about what all the things there in the Power Platform security. So the implementing security measures like role-based access control is like putting the right locks on the right doors. It ensures that sensitive data and the critical functionalities are only accessible only to the right people. For example, considered like this the refund approval is going on. For example, if one of uh, the sales representative for some of the recent customer has reached out to the sales representative and he is initiating the refund request, and each and every request refund should be approved by the team leader or the manager. Then this approve feature, it should be visible only to the appropriate people, or else there is a chance that the refund will get approved for all the refund requests which they are creating it. So appropriate the role based access control should be there in the place. So we need to maintain like we need to make sure like we are allowing the right people inside the door. And the data governance, that is about safeguarding our most valuable asset, our customer data. We classify it and we label it and we set rules on how long we need to keep the data. And with the DLP rules, we ensure that the data integrity and the privacy, um, wrapping it in one complete shell. Yeah. And next, we do have the life cycle management. Any solution we build goes through the life cycle from the birth to the retirement. The best practices here are we are not just creating with the quality, but also we need to maintain and update those components with consistency. That's one of the key thing. It's about ensuring the long-term value and the relevance of what we are building in the Power Platform stack. And even the best laid plans needs the oversight, correct? So we need to leverage all the monitoring and the auditing capabilities which is there in the Power Platform. That's where this monitoring and the auditing comes into the picture, and it's like having a security camera. We keep an eye on all the usages, all the components, what all the components we are using. If you go to the admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com, so it's kind of a security camera where you will be having all the usage of each and every resources. And also we have the Center of Excellence toolkit as well in the Power Platform. So if you go there, each and every component wise, you will be able to dig and get all the monitoring capabilities, like how much, who is the owner of it, and how many persons are accessing it. So all those things you will get it in detail in the monitoring and the auditing. And the license management is about like smart economics, as we all aware of it.
We have
Like,
5 more minutes.
yeah, sure. I will quickly cover it up. Keeping track of our licenses and how we use them helps us optimize the cost and stay compliant. And so it's very important for the customer to save each and every penny of the amount they are spending it. And if you are not having the license management in place, then people will start creating their own individual components that will end up in adding a more and more amount to the organization. So we should be very wise in maintaining this license management. And the change management is very inevitable, and the structured process for making updates and changes ensures that when we pivot, we do so smoothly with a minimal disruption. It's like choreographing a dance, or every plan needs to be stepped actually. For example, in my last the previous production deployment, we didn't go through the change management, and because of that we struggled a lot actually. Especially in the last minute, we directly enabled the custom domain for the Power Pages, and we didn't go through the change management, and we really struggled, suffered a lot with that last minute change. And that was a big lesson learned for us to go through each. The change management should be there in the structured process, should be there in the place to maintain all the changes to go through. And you can have all the rules in the world, but if the people don't know those rules, then that is of no use. Correct. So that's the reason we need to have the strong user training and the awareness documentation, so that the people can go through all those training documentation and they can get the awareness of what needs to be done. So this documentation is our map, and it's our history. It details our policies and process and how we have set up things, and it is very crucial for transparency, and also for ensuring that the complaint is just one-off but part of our ongoing operations as well. And our governance does not exist in bubble. It needs to align with industry regulations and our internal compliance standards. It's about ensuring that as we move forward, we are in a step with the legal and the organizational expectations. So we always need to make sure like the compliance and the regulatory alignment is there in place while putting the Power Platform governance. And this governance is not static. We encourage feedback and regularly revisit our policies to adapt to new business needs. It's a cycle of continuous improvement, correct? So we always need to feel free to this governance people. They always should be open-minded, and they should often get the feedback from all the stakeholders whomever is involved in the project, and based on that they should dynamically adapt the new things as per the standard best practice. And our governance practice are not just about the Power Platform. They are about making sure that the efforts has been aligned with the broader organization objectives and the digital transformation strategies. Like see for in an organization, so solution wise, like we may have the Power Platform, but if you take the enterprise, they may have the AWS, they might have the Azure. So everything should keep in an alignment, so that it would be easy actually. So we need to integrate with the organization goals as well in order to leverage with the technology components which is there in the organization. And finally, the risk assessment and the management. This is about looking ahead, identifying where we might run into one trouble, and proactively putting measures in place to avoid those pitfalls. It's about vigilant, and we need to be prepared for if any fallback has happened. Yeah, so this is about, these are the some of the main key considerations we need to do it for the Power Platform ones. And see, there are some of the six key things which I have identified for the Power Platform governance. One is like we need to establish the team structure for your environments based on what I'm trying to refer here is like based on, for example, if multiple teams are there in your organization, you need to have a proper team structure for your
end. It's time over.
Yeah, I will just quickly wrap it up, Perumal, if you don't mind.
Just take 1 or 2 minutes, not more than that.
Yeah, sure. So I see first and foremost thing is like you should have the proper team structure for your environments. Like if multiple teams are there, and then you need to have the multiple environments, you need to group it based on the line of business, and you need to set up the data, the loss prevention policies for the proper the Power Platform governance. And you can leverage the out of box activity logs and the analytics which is there in the admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. And Microsoft has released a Center of Excellence toolkit, and if you import this Center of Excellence toolkit in your environment, you don't need to start anything from the scratch. Everything is already there in the place. You just need to set up those things and you can take it from there. Yeah. And next we do have the automate process. You can automate your audit process as however the way you want, and that is also it will make you to get the things in hand, actually the governance things. So on top of it, all the auditing and the monitoring. And for example, if any Power Automate or if anything get failed, then immediately to the higher management or to the admin, if you want to notify through the Teams channel notification, that also like with the help of the Power Automate you will be able to do it. And you need to welcome the new maker and identify the champions. What I'm trying to say here is like whenever the new people gets onboarded, you need to give them all the resources and ask them to go through these are the best practices and the governance policies. So you just need to go through it, and you should identify the champions. And if any of the new makers get into the trouble,
Dharani,
it's yeah,
I'm really
all,
sorry to interrupt
all good,
you.
very much. No worries.
Yeah,
No
the next
worries.
speaker is waiting.
Yeah, sure. Thanks once
Thank you,
again, everyone,
Dharani.
for
Thank you,
yeah.
Jiva. Okay.
Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you. Hi, Aditya and Keshav. I hope you are ready. You can start sharing your screen.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Pramal. Thanks a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
let me share the screen. In case